finally have a complete AI-assisted manuscript. Every chapter has an ending, every paragraph is grammatical, and you still do not trust the book. The transitions feel strangely smooth. The examples could belong to anyone. One statistic sounds impressive, but you cannot find the source. And somewhere between the first prompt and the final rewrite, your own voice seems to have gone missing.
You should not ignore that feeling. Complete is not the same as ready. A fast draft can save weeks and still create a new job. Deciding what is true, what is useful, what is yours, and what the real reader will actually remember.
Exactly. Welcome to the 22 Lions Podcast, your daily blueprint for writing, publishing, and profiting from books. Today, we are going to turn that uncomfortable feeling into a repeatable system. 5 human-first revision decisions that let AI help with speed while you remain responsible for judgment.
Here's the lion's truth. The tool can suggest, compare, summarize, and challenge. It cannot own the promise of your book. It cannot know whether a claim is responsible for your audience, whether a personal story should remain private, or whether a sentence sounds like you on your best day.
So, let us start before the first revision prompt. What should an author decide before asking an AI tool to improve a chapter?
Write a short revision brief, not a second manuscript, not a 20-page brand document. Just enough direction to tell the tool what success looks like. Who is the reader? What promise does this chapter make? What tone should it carry? What constraints matter? And what part of your expertise must not be diluted?
Let me make that tangible. Imagine the audience is a first-time freelance consultant. The chapter promise is not, learn everything about pricing. That is too broad. It might be, by the end of this chapter, you can price your first offer without guessing. Now the revision has a destination.
Right. The boundaries. Practical and cautious tone, no income guarantees, plain language, and one decision the reader can make before leaving the chapter. Then give the tool a job. Ask it to inspect whether the chapter supports that promise. Do not begin with, make this better. Better for whom? Better in what way?
And include a voice guide. Maybe you prefer calm explanations, specific examples, short sentences, and honest qualifications. Maybe you never use inflated phrases such as revolutionary framework or guaranteed transformation. Your book is an asset, not a hobby, so your voice belongs in the production plan from the beginning.
I agree, but I want to challenge the way authors sometimes hear that advice. They spend an hour creating the perfect brief and then have no energy left to revise the chapter. 5 to 8 lines is enough for most passes. 5 minutes, not an afternoon.
If the brief is too thin, the tool has nothing to protect.
True, but most authors listening to us will not fail because the brief is 3 lines short. They will fail because they spend the whole afternoon writing it instead of making decisions on the page.
Fair correction. So here is the rule. Write the brief in 5 minutes, keep it visible, and use it as a filter. If a suggestion conflicts with the reader, promise, tone, or non-negotiable expertise, you do not accept it just because the wording sounds polished.
Once that compass exists, stop asking for one giant miracle. Revision works better as separate passes. First, inspect structure. Does the chapter deliver its promise? And is the order helping the reader? Then examine clarity and explanation. After that, check repetition and pacing. Mechanics come later, grammar, consistency, and formatting.
Wait, back up. What would the actual prompt sound like if an author wanted to run that structural pass without asking the tool to rewrite everything?
Try this. Review this chapter only for missing steps in the reader's reasoning. Do not rewrite the prose. List each concern, quote the relevant sentence, and explain why it may block the chapter's promise. If the structure works, say what is working. That final instruction matters. You want diagnosis before replacement language.
Then the author decides whether the concern is valid. If a paragraph is beautifully written but belongs in a later chapter, move it. If a sentence is awkward but carries an important distinction, preserve the meaning before polishing the language. Structure comes before shine.
Exactly. If you polish a weak paragraph before deciding whether the paragraph belongs, you are decorating the wrong room. And do not accept every recommendation simply because it arrives in a confident tone. AI feedback is a set of possibilities, not an editorial verdict.
That distinction protects the author's time. It also protects the author's voice. I have seen revisions become smoother and less alive at the same time.
And that is where the third decision becomes non-negotiable. Verify and protect the work. Check statistics, quotations, dates, technical claims, citations, and anything that could influence a reader's financial, professional, or personal decision. If a source matters, open the source. A reference that looks real is not evidence.
Include privacy in that pass. Remove confidential client details, internal business information, and identifiable stories, unless you have permission and a sound reason to use them. Also, compare the revision with your notes and earlier drafts. If the tool adds evidence that you never researched, delete it or verify it independently.
Then save the original before you edit. Mark the passages that sound unmistakably like you. Those passages are your control sample. If a revision comes back cleaner but flatter, compare it with the sample and ask, what did we gain and what did we lose?
That question is better than, is this more professional? Sometimes the unusual phrase is carrying earned perspective. The goal is not to make every sentence sound optimized. The goal is to make the book sound intentional.
Clean the clutter around the voice. Do not clean the voice away. Here is a quick example. A generic AI sentence might say, successful consultants should develop a strong value proposition to maximize client acquisition. Technically, it is fine. Practically, it gives the reader almost nothing to do.
It sounds like a business textbook trying very hard to sound important.
Exactly. A more useful version might be, before you name a price, write down the expensive problem you solve, the person who feels it, and the result you can honestly support. That sentence gives the reader a sequence. It also leaves room for judgment. It does not promise that every consultant will become successful.
And notice what happened. We did not ask AI to make the sentence sound impressive. We asked what the reader needed to understand and do. That brings us to the reader experience audit. Put down your author intentions for a moment and open the chapter as if you paid for it.
Read the opening page. Does it tell the reader why this subject matters now? Then look at the explanations. Can the reader see the idea through a specific example? Check the transitions. Does each one explain why you are moving from one thought to the next? Or are you simply stacking information?
And after each section, ask one uncomfortable question. What changed for the reader? Did they understand a concept, avoid a mistake, make a decision, or gain a next action? If the answer is nothing, the section may be informative, but not useful. Readers do not need more words. They need movement.
The ending deserves the same test if there is an exercise. Is it realistic? If there is a call to action, does it follow from the chapter? Or does it suddenly feel like a sales pitch? A good next step respects the reader's attention.
Now we need the fifth decision, because this is where many authors get trapped. They finish the audit and create another 100-item list.
Yes. The final step is not another AI pass. It is prioritization. Rank every issue into 3 groups. Must fix before publication, should improve if time allows, and optional polish. A missing source belongs in the first group. A repeated phrase may belong in the second. Changing a comma because the tool prefers a different rhythm may belong in the third.
Then make the human decision on every important suggestion. One structural improvement can be worth more than 20 grammar edits. If the reader cannot follow the promise, fix that before polishing a sentence. If a claim is uncertain, verify it before adjusting the tone. Revision needs a stopping point, or it becomes a permanent subscription to doubt.
Let's see how the whole process behaves in real life. Consider a composite nonfiction author writing about building a small consulting practice. If I produced a full draft quickly, but every revision prompt created new wording, by the third round, 2 chapters repeated the same advice, the strongest example was buried, and the author no longer knew which sentences were original.
So the author stopped asking for a total rewrite and wrote the 5-minute brief. New consultants, cautious and practical tone, no income guarantees, 1 decision per chapter, and preserve the author's direct teaching voice. That brief immediately changed the quality of the feedback.
The structure pass showed that 2 chapters were really 1. The reader audit showed that the opening spent 3 pages defining consulting before explaining why the reader should care. The author moved a practical example forward, cut repeated definitions, and rejected a polished rewrite that sounded like every other business book.
The important result was not a magical word count or a promise of instant sales. The result was control. The author knew which problems were structural, which claims required verification, which passages carried a distinctive voice, and which edits were simply optional polish.
You can create that control in 30 minutes today. Choose 1 chapter, not the entire book. Spend 5 minutes writing its audience, promise, tone, constraints, and voice priorities. Use 10 minutes to inspect the opening, the order, the examples, the transitions, and the ending. Do not edit yet. Just mark what blocks the reader.
Use the next 10 minutes for trust and voice. Flag unsupported claims, questionable citations, repeated ideas, confidential details, and sentences that do not sound like you. Compare those sentences with 1 passage you want to preserve. Ask whether the proposed improvement makes the book clearer or merely more generic.
Use the final 5 minutes to write 3 decisions. 1 structural fix, 1 accuracy or trust check, and 1 voice preservation decision. Rank them, then stop. Write it. Publish it. Profit from it, but publish only after the work earns the reader's trust.
Let us put the system in 1 clean sequence. First, define the revision brief. Second, separate the passes so structure does not get buried under grammar. Third, verify facts, sources, privacy, and originality while protecting your voice. Fourth, audit the chapter as a reader. Fifth, rank the problems and make the final human decision.
If you are revising 1 short book and have the time, this workflow can bring order to the process. But if you are coordinating editorial review, interior formatting, a cover, multiple editions, audiobook production, KDP details, and a launch plan, quality control becomes difficult to do alone. It is not a failure. It is a production reality.
And that is where professional support can help. At 22 Lions, the goal is not to remove the author from the process. It is to give you editorial distance, catch expensive problems, and build a practical path from manuscript to publication. If you can see what needs work but do not have the time or perspective to solve it alone, bring 1 chapter, your audience, and your publishing goal to a 22 Lions consultation.
The team can help with editorial review, formatting, audiobook production, KDP guidance, and a quality-focused publishing plan. The standard is simple. Use automation where it saves time, and keep responsibility where trust depends on judgment. Build the empire, 1 book at a time. Stay hungry, stay published.
That's your step-by-step system for today. Apply it to 1 chapter before you apply it to the whole manuscript, and watch your author business grow with stronger work underneath it. Your book is an asset, not a hobby. Publish like a pro. Profit like a lion.